Today on VIP TV, the trainers of the recently retired former two-weight world champion Carl Frampton, Jamie Moore and Nigel Travis. Fellas, thanks for coming on a few days after Carl's final fight. I'll ask you both first. I'll start with you. No, I'll start with Nigel because everyone always starts with Jamie first. So I'm going to start with Nigel. What was your thoughts on Carl on the night?
I thought he gave it a good go. I thought everything that he tried, Jamel Herring had an answer for. The way he prepared in camp was fantastic, and we genuinely believed that he was going to shock the world as such. He was going to become a three-time world title champion, and we genuinely believe that he did. And on the night, literally, Jamel was just too big. And definitely, good. It was probably better than I anticipated. Even though I was anticipating a world champion, anticipate world champion being poor, but he was very good. He really was good, and you've got to dot your cap. So it's not only what Carl Frampton did; it's maybe what Jamel Herring did as well. So that's the argument I would give, but. It was devastating. We were devastated, and it was a tough decision to pull him out. But really, it was probably an easy decision because, if we had a cynical side and maybe we were brave coaches, brave training team, then maybe you'd leave him in there. But that's not really how we work. And the kids' welfare and the kids' health, it comes first. That's what was important to us.
Yeah, Jamie, you both got, the corner got a lot of credit for what they did on the night. But was you sort of hoping the referee might have done it a few seconds earlier or maybe after that second knockdown? Because obviously I'm just looking on TV from miles away. But the second knockdown, his body just seemed to go into shock and shudder. Was you half hoping the referee would do it and you did, well, we'll just give him 20 seconds and then it's going in?
That is exactly what happened. He went down slow, which is never a good sign. I actually didn't expect him to get up, to be honest. But as he started to get up and I saw the ref was going to let it go, I shouted to Nigel, give me the towel. And I was waiting. And what happened, Carl sort of dug his heels in and landed a couple of good shots initially. So I sort of sat back and I thought, I'll just give him 5 seconds, see if he can pull his way back in. You just felt like the momentum was slipping away from him. And then as soon as, I think there was a couple of shots where I felt like the ref might jump in. And then Carl tried a little spurt again. And as soon as he got caught with that second uppercut after the knockdown, I threw the towel in. And the ref saw it sort of go over his head. And then just, I think Carl saw it out of the corner of his eye as well and sort of turned and gestured to the corner.
Yeah.
So as Nigel said, it was an easy decision. But it was only an easy decision because it was the right thing to do, and it was only maybe a difficult decision because of the magnitude of the fight. But I don't ever have that in mind at all when I'm in the corner. It doesn't matter what fight it is; it could be a 4-rounder. The fact of the matter is, you've got to look after your fighters first and foremost. And as soon as that, he had that good 4th round, and I was hoping the momentum might come in and the tide might turn a little bit, but then he got dropped in the 5th, and then you just felt he was just sliding away from us a little bit, and then he's definitely the right call.
Yeah, I mean, when he sort of when it got stopped, did he look over at you two just for the split second as if to say, "What did you do that for?" It just looked like he gave one of you a stare for about 2 seconds, then he just accepted it.
He did. He looked over to me and went, "Wow," as if to say, "Why have you done that?" And he just sort of leant on the ropes, and I went over and I said I had to do it, and I did have to do it. The fact of the matter is, we knew that was Carl's last fight, and he went out on his feet to a good champion, and he gets saved to make sure that he can enjoy the rest of his life with his family. And I said to him in the changing rooms afterwards, potentially, he was at that stage where if you let it go on for another 5 or 10 seconds, he finishes out on his back, maybe having to go to hospital. For what? The chances of him pulling that back was like minuscule. It got to the point where you felt like, his shape had gone again. He his shape in terms of where he's holding himself and his defence was sort of falling away. So he was leaving himself wide open basically, and I just couldn't see it. And I thought, it was the right time, definitely the right time to get the towel in.
Yeah, Nigel, you play a big part in their training, but you're also very important with fighters. I know from speaking to them, at lifting them and afterwards when something might go wrong, or even making they're happier when something has gone right. How did you start to lift Carl afterwards to try and lift these spirits?
Obviously, it was very difficult at first because he was so devastated. And as James mentioned there, the size of the fight. We knew before it was his last fight. Win, lose, didn't matter. We wanted him to retire as a champion. That was the plan. But regardless of that, he was down, and sometimes you don't know what to say. So there was a tweet on. I think Rocky took a photograph of me and Jamie consoling Carl, and
I've seen it. Fantastic picture, yeah.
Immediately after it, it was really down, and so. In my mind, I'm thinking, how do you lift this up? So, and then Rocky said, someone said, it's the last opportunity I might have to kick him. So I thought, if I kick him now, this is probably the wrong time. And I know, obviously, that wouldn't have happened, but it was just that's my personality. And we tried to uplift it, and really, he took it very well, and it was very humbling from me personally and for our team. For Carl was so intent, and he said one of the biggest things he wanted to do, as well as dedicating the win to his former coach Billy McKee, who was his amateur coach, who sadly passed away very recently. God rest his soul. He said, "I would have loved to have become a world champion with you guys, who he's had the happiest moments in his career." So, and again, it sort of not deflates me, sort of like knocks the bollocks out of you, and you're like, wow, that's how much he thinks of you, and it's quite a humbling experience, but. He's a professional. He's such a professional, and he's such a. He really is a good man, and that's. So beforehand, we all put some words together about him and what he means, and really, so he was thanking us, but we also thanked him because of the impact he's had on me personally. Not just I've got a few thousand followers on Twitter because of him, or some fake Instagram. Or some fake Instagram that's knocking around somewhere. But he, as a person, how he is with his family, it's so impressive. The love that he has for his missus, his kids, and it's not hard to say that you love your missus and you love your kids, but how he is, how he misses them, and it makes this part of the transition dead easy now, because he's now at home, loving his family, loving his missus, loving his kids, and that's where he wants to be. So, he's put himself in a decent position to become a great commentator and be involved in some way, and that's a good thing, and we want him to profiteer off that, if anything. But he's also said it, I'm copying his words. Boxing has been very, very good to him, but it's also been very, very bad to him.
Yeah, of course, I know what you're referring to there. Yeah,
that everyone is aware of. Maybe the team he's had previously have, not been the most pleasant, and that's so. If he'd have finished, and there was a good chance that, when he left his last team, he could have finished, he could have stopped, and if he'd have stopped, that would have been his lasting impression of boxing being a dog's game. But he's come to us, and he's now saying it's not a dog's game. I've had the best time of my life, albeit he hasn't won a world title, which he wanted to. We had 2 chances, and that's just the way the cookie crumbles, as daft as it sounds. And when you say someone, some you win, some you lose, it isn't that easy, but it's that simple, that you do win some and you do lose some. And he took his defeat and the 2 defeats he's had with us with great respect and dignity. So I'm massively impressed by the kid.
Jamie, do you think when he comes to yourself and Nigel, do you think, and I don't mean this, that he was well past his peak, do you think he peaked when he come to you, that we'd maybe seen the best of him that night he beat Santa Cruz? Or did you think we had any more of them performances with you? Of course, we think of the comeback in the second half of the Josh Warrington fight was it showed there was plenty left. But had he just peaked when he come to you two?
Well, when you look back now, retrospectively, every fighter has the peak in a mountain.
Yeah.
So they all, Ricky Hatton, Costa Zoo, any fighter who's left a legacy in the sport, like those two guys, Carl and Ricky, they have that sort of Mount Everest moment. So when you look back on Carl's career, the Santa Cruz fight, when he beat him in New York, he's going to be his mountaintop. Without a doubt, it's fantastic performance, one of the best performances of any British fighter overseas. So, we had 7 fights with Carl. I think as time goes on now, the Nonito Donaire performance carries more weight than he did at the time. People thought he was past his best, and he's proven that he's far from past his best. So I think how disciplined he was, and how he controlled that fight, the tempo of the fight, didn't leave himself into any sort of dangers. That's a good performance. Like you say, the way he got back into the Josh Warrington fight. If Carl was finished as a fighter, there's no way in this earth on that night he would have got back into that fight with Josh. The reason he carried on with his career after that is because he felt like he'd not done himself justice, because he was ill-disciplined in the first 3 rounds, which led him into them problems. And then for him to be able to pull his way back into the fight was massive. You've got to give him props for that. But I don't think that he had anything to prove to anybody else. He just needed to prove it to himself. And he tried to win a world title at third weight division. He wasn't meant to be, but that's never going to take away from the fact that Carl was an unbelievably talented fighter. He's going to go down as one of the great British fighters, and he's a great human being. That's what I said to him. So that picture, when we was having that discussion, and he said, as Nigel said there, he said, "I'm just gutted I didn't win a world title for you guys." And I said to him, "You know what, Carl? I don't give a fuck that you've not won a world title for us. I've got to be honest with you.
You don't need to swear like that. No, don't be swearing like that. We've got public here. What's the matter with you?"
You carry
Sorry,
on.
Dad. I said, I don't care about winning world titles. I care about you. And that's my only concern. So it doesn't matter. I really don't care. What my only concern was you going back to your family and being safe and living your rest of your life happy and being able to enjoy all the success you've had. So job done.
Nigel, what was your favourite moment with Carl in your few years with him? I think one minute where you were together, or all of you, and something happened, and you'll never forget.
To be fair, there's been probably too many, because it's just been genuinely an enjoyable time. The kids worked hard and all those things, but moments-wise, being at Windsor Park, him being Lou Jackson in front of a full house. My wife was there, Jamie's wife was there, so it was a massive moment. And although Lou Jackson, wasn't the perfect opponent, been in for a world title, and Nonito Donaire at that occasion would have been fantastic. But that's just as it happened. But that was probably the moment when, and it wasn't the tip of the iceberg. It was just a tip, the tip of the mountain. It was just
personal moment.
He was on it, and carrying him around the ring on his shoulders. The noise was just phenomenal. It really was, But and equally being in the ring when Josh Warrington in Manchester, in our hometown, you know what I mean? In our hometown, the noise was just unbelievable. Two of the greatest supported people in our nation, definitely. Second also Ricky Hatton. I was at Ricky Hatton at Costa Zoo, and the noise there was unbelievable. But to hear them opposing fans going at each other and the noise, it was just adulation. And to be part of that, to be in the ring and hear that, you can't help but be raised by it, and and realize, and you're thinking like, wow, what am I doing here? I'm a main event, and I've had many of those moments where I pitch myself thinking, look where you are now, son. And so I'm genuinely blessed, but so it's a blessing.
I've had loads of them moments as well, and I'm looking at you thinking, what are you doing here?
Just keep your doing tone, dickhead. All right.
What was your highlight, Jamie? Your personal moment with Carl? You know, could have been anything. Could be in your house. You know, in a a fight, the gym. What's your personal highlight that will stay with you?
I think it's difficult to pinpoint one. You know, there's been loads of good memories. You know, training camps in Tenerife. There's so many good memories. Being stood waiting to do the ring walk at Windsor Park was just unbelievable. I just think that the last 12 months, the situation, what's happened, you know, everyone's in lockdown. Carl has to come over to train in Manchester. He's actually lived with us in the house.
Yeah, the pictures, yeah.
So for the bout he had, it's like during lockdown, and then for this fight, he's lived in the back of our house and sort of lived with us in the family home. So you get to know him more, and you know, you're seeing him on the phone to his kids. You realise how difficult it is for him to be away. So you got sort of an insight into how much sacrifice he makes. Well, you never really got that for the 2 years before, because once you're out of the gym and away, that's it. So again, for me, it's not about the boxing. It's about getting to know him as a person. So I've enjoyed the last 12 months of him sort of living with us and sort of experiencing that and seeing how much sacrifice and how much effort he's put into it. So that's what it's heartbreaking to sort of not get the win at the end of it. But I now know he's content because he's got the answers what he was looking for after the Josh Warrington defeat. So I know you can sort of tell with some fighters they'll make a comeback. You'll never see Carl in a ring again. I know that he's retired and he'll be content for the rest of his life, and that's all you can ever wish for a fighter.
I spoke to him briefly just on text the other day, and I just said to him, you know, I don't know whatever if you're going to stay in boxing. I know there's a lot of talk about going into commentary with BT and stuff. Has been rumoured. I think he'd make a great boxing manager. I just wonder what you two think would be the ideal fit for Carl if he stays in boxing. What do you think, Nigel?
I think, you know, the managers that I know who are good care about their fighters. You know, Steve Wood, you know, he was my manager and Jamie's manager, and he's the person that I would recommend, you know, to anybody who is thinking of turning professional, because he has a genuine empathy and a genuine care for the fighters. And that's what I believe a manager should do. A manager, you know, it's not about money, you know, and those who are in it for the money, and that's the game. The game's a business, and it doesn't sit right with me. You know, we're not. It's not a charity, of course. You know, I run a charitable gym, an amateur gym, but it's about the fighters. You know, looking after the fighters' well-being, and so if he was a manager, I think it's a great thing. You know, but it's also, I see the heartache that Steve Wood goes through. You know, and the investment in the kids, and really, Steve loses more money on shows than he earns. So why he does it, I really don't know. So I've got to doff my cap to him, because the guy has a genuine compassion, and Carl has that. So if Carl wanted to do it, then I think it'd be a perfect fit, because he is a compassion, genuinely nice kid who values the fighters. Steve, but listen, Carl will stay in. I think the punditry is a definite thing, and he enjoys it, and he doesn't need to invest the time, the hours. You know, he's maybe not a student of the sport, but he watches the sport, so he knows about it, and he's got a very, very good eye. So I would suggest that's his route to stay in the game.
What about you, Jamie? What do you think he'll do in boxing?
Yeah, managing's time consuming, and I think, you know, going off what Carl's been saying, Christine, his wife, has sacrificed a lot, as every fighter's wives do. Fighters have got to be selfish people, so I think she's got her own sort of ambitions and stuff which she wants to do with her life. So Carl's now in the position where he doesn't have to work; he can sort of pick and choose, and he can sort of leave her to try and set some goals for herself and support her in doing what she wants to do, rather than vice versa. So I think he's a fantastic pundit. That's what I think he should do. You know, he's very, very knowledgeable. He speaks really well, and it's just a shame he's an ugly bastard.
Just one final question before you go away from Carl.
Just a minute. Pot, kettle, black, Mosey, calling someone an ugly bastard, please. Look, wow.
Hey, the irony in that statement is absolutely.
It's Oriental.
Wow. One final thing to ask you. A few years ago, you were both just training Tommy. Are you now both in the training for the long haul now? Or is it still just going along and see who comes through the gym? Because I know, although you always enjoyed the training with Tommy, I don't think it was your life ambition to be training boxers 6 days a week. So I just wondered if you're both in for this for the long haul now.
Never in a million years was there any planning involved in this. It's just sort of materialised as time went on. And I'm enjoying it, to be honest. I am enjoying it. We're busy. We still get 8 fighters, even though Carl's retired. Mine's retired. So we're still busy. But I'm a big believer, Steve, that everything happens for a reason. And whichever way or direction this goes, then it'll be what's meant to be. And as long as we keep doing it for the right reasons and trying to help people out, then I'm sure we'll be okay. But I'm just going with the flow, go with the tide. That's all I do, mate.
Are we ever going to see a night in boxing? I'll ask you this, a final question, Nigel, where you both train separate fighters and go against each other.
Well, I win all day. Obviously, look at me. I'm a born winner, except for Saturday night, obviously, when I lost. No, that won't happen. It's not on my thing. I am in it for the long haul. You know, I have a boxing gym in Moss Side, the fire station.
I know, yeah.
All those kids. I've got kids coming through. I've got kids who are at GB who may turn pro, and I'd like them to turn pro with me and Jamie. But as Jamie said, you know, I do believe it's for a reason. You know, I was never going to train professional fighters as such. I only helped Jamie out with Tommy, and then that's grown and grown and grown. And obviously, Carl coming, Marty Murray coming, Rocky Fielding coming, it came, and now people are coming of their own intent. So we've got a Kazakh kid who's like one of the family now, called Tursun Bey Kulame. He's an absolute beast. We call him the Tursinator, and he's dangerous. And I believe that he beats most of the top 20 in the world. Really do.
As we speak, Steve, he's teaching Nigel to speak fluent English.
And it's not working.
How's he getting on over here with the language barrier when you guys aren't with him? Has he got somebody with him or anything?
It's amazing, mate. You know the first English word we taught him?
What?
Dickhead. So you've got to start at the bottom and work your way up.
Yeah. So he started there. So he's going to progress for sure.
That's obviously his biggest thing that he needs to do, because in the corner, just getting those things. Now, in all fairness, we had plans of what we were going to do in Dubai. You know, Google Translate's a fantastic tool, but it may look unprofessional in the corner doing that with a mobile phone that he's got to read or got to listen to. So there is those problems, but so it never actually materialised because he knocked him out, you know, in the first minute and a half, but which was pretty impressive. But he's, you know, we're intent on him doing maybe an hour a day, you know, working the translation. And if Golovkin had
I was going to say that, yeah,
he would have had a different trajectory in the sport.
Absolutely,
I think it'd have gone in a different direction, but he didn't. He refused to. But negatively, I think. It was a bad
definitely, yeah.
He's definitely going to look at doing it. But at the moment, I'm his teacher. We have 10 minutes on the way to the gym, 10 minutes home, and he knows every swear word fluently. But it doesn't work that way. But he'll get there eventually.
Fellas, thanks for it. You anything to add, Jamie, to that?
Yeah, Nigel's a liar because he's not his only teacher, because I teach him as well. But Nigel likes to take all the credit for it, you see. That's all it is.
You teach him the Queen's English, mate.
I teach him proper English.
He teaches him
obviously, because the Salford accent is the Salford accent is the essence of the English accent. So you can't have someone from Oldham who speaks in a bit of a punch drunk sort of tone teaching someone English. You can't do it.
And you haven't taken up the top road on Swinton on a Sunday night yet, have you?
Not yet, but I tell you what, he'd be a top doorman because he's an absolute animal.
Fellas, thanks very much indeed for speaking to us today on VIP TV, and we'll see you very soon.
Take it easy, Steve.
Take care, mate. All the best.
For all boxing info, news and latest interviews, amateur and pro, across the north, click and subscribe. VIP Boxing Promotions. Also, Twitter, Instagram and Facebook.